garnishment, threatening letters, audits, liens, levies, or already in a payment plan, you can now expedite the resolution to your tax problem, end collections, and even qualify to reduce a large portion of what you owe. Stop IRS Debt has established a relief hotline for you to call to check what savings and options you qualify for. Dial 800-420-1557. With many people facing job loss and rising cost of living, these special IRS initiatives are designed to aid delinquent taxpayers with the relief that they need to get a fresh start. For a free consultation to see what savings you qualify for, call 800-420-1557. 800-420-1557. 800-420-1557.
Get ready for the biggest night in podcasting.
The iHeart Podcast Award goes to...
Join us for our 2025 iHeart Podcast Awards, live from Austin, Texas at South by Southwest.
Celebrating the most innovative and influential voices in the podcasting world.
Push boundaries.
Sit down with amazing guests every week.
And engage audiences in new, remarkable ways.
Don't miss our 2025 iHeart Podcast Awards.
Watch on iHeartRadio's YouTube channel and listen on the iHeart app.
Monday night at 11.
K231BQ Golden, K231AA Boulder.
Make us the #1 preset in your car and on the free iHeartRadio app. Listen for all your music, radio, and podcasts.
Free. Never sounded so good.
KOA.
Denver.
850 AM.
94.1 FM. News. Talk. Sports.
KOA News Time is 1 o'clock. I'm Keenan Dixon. Governor Polis and his Republican vice chair at the National Governors Association are pushing back on the proposed Medicaid funding cuts.
Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt joined Polis, expressing worry about what congressional Republicans have proposed, saying without consultation and proper planning, the reductions would impact state budgets, rural hospitals, and healthcare service providers. Both are calling for governors to have a seat at the table when discussing any reforms and cuts to Medicaid funding, and both say the states should have flexibility in administering Medicaid for their own citizens. Rob Dawson, KOA News.
The Trump administration is being ordered to disperse billions of congressionally approved dollars to 22 states, including Colorado. Today, a federal judge ruled the federal funds were already allocated by Congress and the executive branch could not stop its disbursement. The judge says the White House had overstepped its authority in telling the agencies to stem the flow of money for federal programs as appropriated by Congress. Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser says he's pleased that the court agreed with them that the Trump administration's orders freezing federal funds, which have caused chaos in Colorado and across the country, must be restored. Former Canadian Olympic snowboarder Ryan Wedding has found himself at the center of an international drug trafficking ring. Assistant Director in charge of the Los Angeles field office, Akil Davis, says officials have been trying to locate him since last year.
While we haven't ruled out other countries, we believe Wedding is residing in Mexico and possibly living under protection of the Sinaloa drug cartel.
Ryan Wedding was charged in connection with his ties to a cocaine trafficking ring, which has led to the deaths of several people. In sports, the Big 12 women's tournament is rolling in Kansas City. 9th seed Colorado trails 8th seed Arizona by a touchdown, 16-9 in the second quarter. The winner plays top seed TCU tomorrow. The Summit League tournament is underway in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Tonight at 7:30, 7-seeded DU plays 2nd seed St. Thomas in the men's tournament. In the women's tournament yesterday, Denver's season ended to Omaha 76-68 in the opening round of the Summit League tournament. KOA tournament updates are presented by Xfinity. Stream live sports for the best seat in the house. Fox 31 pinpoint weather, partly cloudy today, high of 54. Tonight, chance of showers early, low of 28. Tomorrow, cloudy with some rain and snow possible, high of 38. It's 49 degrees in Denver. Our next update at 1:30. I'm Keenan Dixon on KOA News, Talk, Sports. From the KOA Traffic Center, here's Mark Swan.
Thanks, Keenan. It's a fairly calm drive throughout the Denver metro as we start off that
1 minute, guys.
25 north and southbound, for the most part, showing intended speeds through town. You might see some busy traffic, I-25 northbound through downtown between Alameda and Colfax, but nothing out of the ordinary. I-70 east and westbound, flowing free to and from DIA. I-70, both east and westbound. Watch out for some road work between Tower Road and E470. We're not seeing slowing at the moment, but it does tend to slow down a little bit as the afternoon goes on. South of there, no complaints. I-225 north and southbound through Aurora and the Denver Tech Center. Off highway and heading to the north end of town. Roadwork Federal Boulevard, both north and southbound between 92nd and 104th. Watch out for a left lane closure both sides. I'm Mark Swan on KOA 850 AM and 94.1 FM.
This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios.
Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. Perfect for instant contact with an aging parent. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com and you'll get an extra 60% off, free UPS shipping, and add code RADIO for an extra 5% off.
The Mandy Connell Show is sponsored by Bell and Pollock Accident and Injury Lawyers.
Now, it's Mandy Connell. On KOA, 850 AM.
94.1 FM.
Welcome to the second hour of the show, and you may be confused when you hear these next two voices. You might think to yourself, wait, those gentlemen are on Saturday morning when I'm running errands. That's when I listen to the Bell and Pollock Personal Injury Show, and I say it all the time. Every time I listen, I learn something new, and it makes me feel a little dumber, but then a little smarter by the end of the show. Joining me in the studio now from Bell and Pollock, I've got Gary Bell and Brad Pollock.
Hello, Mandy. How you doing?
Hello, Mandy. It's time to do legal rock and roll. Let's get going here.
Well, I told you guys, I love hearing other people's problems. I know that sounds weird, but I find it fascinating, the things that happen in society on a regular basis that you don't necessarily think about. You guys have been doing this for how long?
We've been doing the show 25, 30 years now, so...
What do you know the weirdest case you've ever had? Do you have one that springs forth when you go, wow, that was a doozy?
Yeah, we have several. But, speaking of that, we had a great call on our show a while back, and the guy says, I am so mad at my neighbor. He lived in eastern Colorado, out on the plains. I'm so mad at my neighbor because, I said, what's the problem? Well, he put a beehive on the fence next to my property. Well, it's on his property. And so can you guys do anything about it? And what are the rights? So that was pretty wild and crazy.
But what happens then? Do you have the right to tell somebody to move their beehive?
Yeah, that's great because I know that you are a big property owner person. So are we. Okay, so you can use your property. You just can't create a nuisance. Okay. And so then the argument is, well, that's my property. I can do what I want, but you can't create a nuisance. Like if you had water overflowing or something like that. So the beehive would be a nuisance. The other thing was that on this case, he had plenty of places to put it down the fence away from the guys.
He was just being a jerk.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I want to open the phone lines to anyone who has any kind of situation where they have been wronged, they have been harmed by the negligence of someone else. If you've been in that situation and you have a question, and I will tell you guys that in the past when I've done these on various shows, various markets, it's a lot of people who call and say, should I have called an attorney? Right?
Right.
Should I have called? I think, why don't people just pick up the phone and ask the questions? Let me get the phone number out, 303-713-8585. That's let me try that again, 303-713-8585. And Grant will screen your call in just a second. I mean, how often do you think people just don't make the call or they don't investigate and they end up getting shorted?
That's the problem. A lot of times people don't call when they should call. The call is free. There's no reason not to call. Get some initial advice, figure out what you want to do, and you get people that don't make the call when they should. And I'd say 50% of the calls I get that are late is just because somebody was afraid to pick up the phone and talk to their lawyer.
As a daughter of an attorney, I mean, from like the time I was 5 years old, I think I knew in any situation, like even if everything is perfectly fine and everything's going your way, you better have somebody there because you don't know what they know,
Exactly.
in any situation. So I have a couple questions for you guys that I want to get answers to. And one of them is this. So I know I am not alone in asking this question here in the great metro, but after it snows in my neighborhood, there are sidewalks around some houses, not all houses. There's not sidewalks in every part. But most people, a vast majority of people in this neighborhood, they all do the right thing. They shovel their sidewalks. The only reason this matters is because when they plow the road, it creates this huge mountain of snow between the street and the sidewalk. So if they don't shovel their sidewalks, then you have the choice of walking through sometimes really deep snow, or even worse, it gets packed down and it turns into ice. And it's not only inconvenient, it is like, I have a St. Bernard, so anything could go wrong at any time when I'm walking my dog. What responsibilities and what repercussions, if I fall and kill myself on their sidewalk, what do they have to be responsible for?
Okay, I'm going to answer part of it, and then Brad's going to catch the common law part of it. Listen, you live in Douglas County. There's an ordinance in Douglas County called the Snow and Ice Ordinance number 007-003. Okay, what does it say? It says property owners are directly responsible for clearing sidewalks bordering their property. They can hire it out, but they're ultimately responsible. Okay. It also says, what's the time frame? When do you have to do this?
Right.
When it snows. The ordinance says snow and ice, both, must be removed within 24 hours after the snow stops falling. Okay, that's the time frame. And then should they shovel the snow on the street? No. The ordinance says you got to put it on your lawn.
Well, that makes sense. It also waters your lawn.
Exactly. So that's the ordinance part. That's what we lawyers call the statutory part. Brad's going to explain to you what the property liability common law statute is for the duty and responsibility if you don't comply.
Well, it's pretty simple. If you've not exercised reasonable care and taken care of your property, you're going to be responsible for injuries that are caused by your failure to exercise that reasonable care. One of the things you have to do in reasonable care is remove the snow and ice from your sidewalks. Probably should be careful because you probably want to remove it from the driveway also.
That was a follow-up question I got to this. A delivery driver said, I'm delivering huge boxes. Are people responsible if I fall and, wipe out in their driveway that is not shoveled?
Right. Well, if they've had 24 hours, it hasn't been snowing under law and even under the common law, especially if they're ordering those packages. They're having people come to their property. You've got to make your property safe for people. And the bottom line is get the snow shoveled, get the ice melt out, take care of your sidewalk, take care of your driveway, and avoid the problem.
Okay, so I'm just going to leave a little note. I'm going to start leaving little Post-it notes on people's doors. There's a tiny handful of people that does this, right? But it makes it awful and dangerous and not fun to be out there. And some of us, I got to walk my dog.
You just said the key word in the statute, dangerous condition. That's what it causes. But boy, would I love to cross-examine one of those neighbors that doesn't do this. That would be so easy to do.
Right.
Okay? Suppose this neighbor didn't clean his driveway, and he says, well, the ordinance doesn't say driveway. It says sidewalk, Mr. Bell, right? Well, I would find out immediately how many packages you've had delivered in the last year through your driveway, and then I'd own you.
Okay, so I'm glad I asked this question. I am now armed to the teeth with the information that I need. Thank you very much, but I have callers on the line who want to join the party. So let me go to Jeff. You are on with Gary and Brad from Bell and Pollock.
Hi, I have a question pertaining to a dog fight.
A dog fight?
A dog bite.
Oh, bite. Okay.
Yes. So if somebody has a dog that's on a path and they let that dog bite you, what are the recall or what are the actions that can be taken for that?
All right, I'm going to give you the first part. Brad will give you the second part. Thanks for the question. The laws changed in Colorado. It used to be this old adage of every dog gets his first bite. That was the old adage. That's kind of comical, sometimes not so comical. But that changed. And they passed a statute, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years ago that says there's strict liability for dog bites. What does that mean to you? That means if they let their dog go or they don't let their dog go, or if their dog bites you for any reason whatsoever, whether he's had a dog bite before, whether he was considered dangerous before, it doesn't matter. It's strict liability, and they owe you automatically for all your medical bills. Now, that doesn't cover the rest of your damages, but for all your medical bills, and I've seen some of them $50,000, $60,000 of face repair on dog bites, but Brad, the rest of the damages are recoverable.
Sure, that statute is CRS 1321-124, and it's very simple. The dog owner is automatically liable, whether or not the owner was negligent in caring for the dog or whether or not the dog has ever shown signs of aggression. They're going to be liable, period. They've got the responsibility. Now, that liability under the statute is for the expense of taking care of the dog bite. Obviously, there's times when you have more than the expense of taking care of the dog bites. The emotional problems this can cause if it's a young child, They can cause a whole lot of emotional problems for the child. Then they start looking into a little bit more. Did you know the dog had dangerous propensities? Were you not properly taking care of the dog, or were you not properly kenneling the dog when you had people over? Did you get any kind of training for the dog? Did you get any kind of disciplinary actions with the dog so that you could control the dog? And that's when you start getting into even greater damages that you're going to be responsible for as the owner or as the person on the property who you're responsible for that dog.
Does that help?
I'm so sorry. One more point. So medical bills are strict liability. You get them, you should get them, and they pay. The rest of your damages, you have to prove, and you have to go out the ordinary way.
Gotcha.
All right, Jeff, does that help?
Thank you very much.
All
Yes,
right,
it
thank
does.
you. Let me go to John. You're on with Gary and Brad from Bell and Pollock.
Hey guys, thank you so much. I wanted to say that I had the opportunity to have these gentlemen as my lawyers, but I got dropped from them because I refused to do a needle test. I was definitely afraid of needles, and the test was going to be done during surgery anyway. So I eventually had the test done, but they dropped me as a client because.
John, I'm going to say this. I would prefer you take this up with them at their office because I can't verify anything that you're saying right now. And they're both sitting here looking at me and shaking their heads. So
everybody know, just letting everybody know how.
That would be, guys, sometimes, and this is my responsibility here, people will call up that are not necessarily engaged with the people on the show and try to say something that's negative, and we don't have any way of verifying that. And I hope he does call with you guys and follows it up with you guys. Anyway,
be glad to take the call.
Yeah, please call us.
303-713-8585. Bill, you're on with Gary and Brad from Bell and Pollock.
Hey guys, Mandy, it's an honor. I bought a 22 Ioniq 5 from Hyundai, and the car broke down, and it was in the shop total for almost a year, like literally 11 and a half months. I'm a 1099 client. I'm a taxi driver, and I bought the car to be an owner-operator. During that time, I lost over $30,000, and all Hyundai told me was, we gave you a loaner. They wouldn't honor the any kind of lemon law because it's a business.
Wait, is that accurate? So lemon laws don't apply to businesses when they buy a vehicle?
It's usually to consumers who buy a new vehicle where the lemon law applies. They will fight you to say that they're not responsible under the lemon law for a business operation or business endeavor where you're losing money. However, there are other ways to go after them. And the other ways to go after them are to hold them responsible with it, but they have to have the knowledge that that's what you intend to use the vehicle for, and they have to be selling it to you for that purpose, for you to be using the vehicle as a commercial vehicle.
And did they know that, Bill?
I did mention it to the guy when I was buying it, to the salesman. I don't know if he mentioned it to the finance guy, but I did mention it to the salesman.
Okay, well, from my take, a lot of people talk about the lemon law. We got the lemon law. Wow. Sometimes you don't want to be subject to the lemon law because you got to take it back a number of times. You have to give them a fair opportunity to repair. And I've seen that not work out more than I've seen it work out. What representations were made by you, them, and this would involve a little bit of consultation with you to go over it, because if you bought it for specific purposes or purpose, there's implied warranties that need to be explored, implied warranty for fitness of a particular purpose, implied warranty of merchantability, et cetera, et cetera. So it's hard to just give you a black and white answer. Be glad to help you. But if they misrepresented, or if they knew the purpose you were using the vehicle for and it didn't work out and it was known, it can't be secret. If it was known, then I think you got remedies, as Brad said.
Yeah.
Maybe follow up with them in their office?
That sounds like a plan. I've had other lawyers tell me it's a winnable case, but it takes too long.
Well, what do they mean by it takes too long? I mean, you hear a lot of things about lawyers wanting to get cases done fast. Sometimes getting case done fast isn't what you need. Sometimes you need to make sure you do the right job and you approach it correctly. So I don't know why they say it takes too long. I think you got to sit down with some lawyers who have the willingness to stick it out for you.
I would love a consultation.
All right.
Sounds
Give
good.
him a
Give us a
call.
call.
There,
You got
there. Thank you very much. Okay, Robert, you're on with Gary and Brad from Bell and Pollock. What's your question?
Yes, a underage driver that lives down the street took his mom's Suburban and hit three of my vehicles, and I recently got a judgment for approximately $17,000. Question is, and the owner of the car was the mother's boyfriend. So I'm wondering, this 15-year-old, I don't think he's going to have a job forever. What do I do? Is there any legal recourse? Do I have to get a lawyer to sue the parents or the owner of the vehicle? I guess that's basically it.
Well, let me ask you a couple of questions, and then Brad can start flying over here legally. You said you got a judgment. You used that word. Did you go to court and get a judgment?
Yes.
Against the minor?
Yes, he was the only one charged.
Probably in state court, in criminal court, Gary.
Oh, it was in criminal court.
I'll bet it was restitution that you got, wasn't it?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, you haven't sued in civil court anybody?
No.
Okay, well, if you did, we'll be glad to consult with you. But if you did, what you have to do, avoid a bunch of legal mumbo jumbo called res judicata and collateral estoppel. All that means this. You have to bring all your claims that you're ever going to bring against everybody you're ever going to bring them. And so if you sued the minor, but you didn't sue the parents, assuming the parents meet the test, which is another conversation, then you're not doing yourself justice. So that's the civil liability of it. So don't just walk down to the courthouse, file a complaint against just one of them, investigate it, and before you do that, because you can lose rights when you do that. Sounds weird, crazy, but it's the way it is. Brad?
Can you sue a kid?
Well, it's probably not going to do you any good.
I know, but I mean, can you even do that? We can't hold, minors responsible for contracts. So can they be sued? They can be found liable in that case?
Absolutely.
In this case,
yes,
you have a judgment against the kid for restitution. That doesn't include a number of other elements of damages that you're entitled to. That's probably just the amount necessary to fix the vehicle or your cars.
Barely.
But yeah, that's exactly it. And it probably doesn't compensate you for the time without the cars and for any rental cars you're going to have and other expenses you're going to have. That takes going to court. This would be county court action, and it'd be an action that you should be able to get a lawyer. Give us a call at our office. We'll talk to you about it. It's something you can do to go against the parents. You start looking at who had the responsibility to watch over that vehicle, who had the responsibility to make sure it was safely tucked away in the driveway or in the garage or along the curb, and you weren't going to have an underage driver drive it.
Maybe mother's boyfriend should come into the picture here. Let's get going on that. But
I'm sure he was thrilled that his vehicle was used in such a manner.
Really thrilled. But let me tell you one thing. You might already have the most powerful remedy because you've got restitution. What does that mean? If you sued in civil courts, you have to go through a trial, all that stuff, you got to get a judgment. But you've got an order of court granting you restitution. So if anybody violates the order, then they're in contempt of court. So you can wait. I guess you can wait, but you can wait till a little bit longer till he gets a job, okay? Because that order's not going away. It's right there. And it's easier for lawyers to say you've got an order of court, you have to comply, other than I'm going to sue you. We do both. But it's just easier when you've got an order already there, right?
Is there any way to hold anybody else responsible for that restitution order, but it's court ordered to the kid? I mean, because let's be real, kid's 15 years old. He's right.
Yeah.
This kid's not going to have a job that pays well for, a decade, if that.
Right.
So that seems like a silly thing. I guess there's no other way to do it, though, is there, in the criminal court?
Look, you haven't done a civil action yet, so you can make a claim against the boyfriend's insurance company. And they're going to say, well, we're not responsible.
He was on.
What?
Yeah, he was uninsured.
Uninsured.
Of course.
My problem.
It just gets better and better.
All of my vehicles had liability insurance, really high liability insurance. They're all paid for. And yeah.
Well, all right. Listen, maybe there's some hope left on the horizon here. We did a lot of legal shows called Finding Insurance. Okay, and the gravamen, the bottom line for you right now is the kid didn't have any insurance, but and the boyfriend didn't have any insurance. But is there anybody in the household that lives there that might be related as a resident relative that has insurance, or are we just talking about nobody has insurance?
I don't know, but I don't believe any of them had insurance.
Are you sure that's no insurance?
Didn't, of course.
You sure there's no insurance?
Well, that's
well,
99% sure. I mean, when the boyfriend walked up the street with the mom, they had no proof of insurance, and then I think they found a card, but it was expired.
No, you haven't heard directly from the insurance company yet. We could help you do this for free. You need to make demand on the insurance. You make demand on the insurance company. We got to find out who it is and let them tell you. And when we get that answer a lot, they say, "Oh, I'm sorry, there's no insurance." Prove it. Well, and here's how you're going to prove it.
Do you have uninsured and underinsured motors covered?
Yeah, he said he was covered fully up to the limits. So yeah,
you have uninsured motors coverage included on your policy, right?
I think he said he only had liability coverage.
That's what I'm trying to find out.
It was just liability.
Oh, I thought you said
yeah.
No UIM. Okay. All right. This is one where some pressure has to be applied against the boyfriend and against mom.
Exactly.
Somebody negligently supervised that child and didn't take care of what he was supposed to be doing. Another question is, do you know if the 15-year-old had started driving yet?
No.
Okay,
no.
So he wasn't on a permit of any type?
He was unpermitted, and nothing.
Okay.
And the police, I asked the police about the insurance from the boyfriend, and the police said, well, there's no insurance. So I have no idea how to find out if,
Okay, but
I have no record.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but take that with a grain of salt, because what police usually means is they didn't have any proof of insurance. And a lot of accidents, people, I don't know where my insurance card is. Just because they don't have proof doesn't mean they don't have insurance. It needs to be pushed, pressed, investigated.
Come see us.
Give them a call at their office, 303-795-5900. We're going to take a quick time out. We're with Gary and Brad from Bell and Pollock. Get your injury questions ready now, 303-713-8585. Back after this.
Today's legal question is brought to you by Bell and Pollock.
You're injured by a hit-and-run driver, so what do? Always call the police. Use your phone camera to document the scene. And report this to your own insurance company right away. At Bell and Pollock, we educate and advocate. We wrote a book called Cowards of the Street, Hit and Run. Get it free on our website, championsofthepeople.com.
If you've been injured in a car crash, call Bell and Pollock at 303-795-5900 or visit online at championsofthepeople.com. Today's legal question is brought to you by Bell and Pollock.
You're injured by a hit-and-run driver, so what do? Always call the police. Use your phone camera to document the scene. And report this to your own insurance company right away. At Bell and Pollock, we educate and advocate. We wrote a book called Cowards of the Street, Hit and Run. Get it free on our website, championsofthepeople.com.
If you've been injured in a car crash, call Bell and Pollock at 303-795-5900 or visit online at championsofthepeople.com. Today's legal question is brought to you by Bell and Pollock.
You're injured by a hit-and-run driver, so what do? Always call the police. Use your phone camera to document the scene. And report this to your own insurance company right away. At Bell and Pollock, we educate and advocate. We wrote a book called Cowards of the Street, Hit and Run. Get it free on our website, championsofthepeople.com.
If you've been injured in a car crash, call Bell and Pollock at 303-795-5900 or visit online at championsofthepeople.com. Today's legal question is brought to you by Bell and Pollock.
You're injured by a hit-and-run driver, so what do? Always call the police. Use your phone camera to document the scene. And report this to your own insurance company right away. At Bell and Pollock, we educate and advocate. We wrote a book called Cowards of the Street, Hit and Run. Get it free on our website, championsofthepeople.com.
If you've been injured in a car crash, call Bell and Pollock at 303-795-5900 or visit online at championsofthepeople.com. Today's legal question is brought to you by Bell and Pollock.
You're injured by a hit-and-run driver, so what do? Always call the police. Use your phone camera to document the scene. And report this to your own insurance company right away. At Bell and Pollock, we educate and advocate. We wrote a book called Cowards of the Street, Hit and Run. Get it free on our website, championsofthepeople.com.
If you've been injured in a car crash, call Bell and Pollock at 303-795-5900 or visit online at championsofthepeople.com. Today's legal question is brought to you by Bell and Pollock.
You're injured by a hit-and-run driver, so what do? Always call the police. Use your phone camera to document the scene and report this to your own insurance company right away. At Bell and Pollock, we educate and advocate. We wrote a book called Cowards of the Street, Hit and Run. Get it free on our website, championsofthepeople.com.
If you've been injured in a car crash, call Bell and Pollock at 303-795-5900 or visit online at championsofthepeople.com. Today's legal question is brought to you by Bell and Pollock.
You're injured by a hit-and-run driver, so what do? Always call the police. Use your phone camera to document the scene and report this to your own insurance company right away. At Bell and Pollock, we educate and advocate. We wrote a book called Cowards of the Street, Hit and Run. Get it free on our website, championsofthepeople.com.
If you've been injured in a car crash, call Bell and Pollock at 303-795-5900 or visit online at championsofthepeople.com. Today's legal question is brought to you by Bell and Pollock.
You're injured by a hit-and-run driver, so what do? Always call the police. Use your phone camera to document the scene and report this to your own insurance company right away. At Bell and Pollock, we educate and advocate. We wrote a book called Cowards of the Street, Hit and Run. Get it free on our website, championsofthepeople.com.
If you've been injured in a car crash, call Bell and Pollock at 303-795-5900 or visit online at championsofthepeople.com. Today's legal question is brought to you by Bell and Pollock.
You're injured by a hit-and-run driver, so what do? Always call the police. Use your phone camera to document the scene and report this to your own insurance company right away. At Bell and Pollock, we educate and advocate. We wrote a book called Cowards of the Street, Hit and Run. Get it free on our website, championsofthepeople.com.
If you've been injured in a car crash, call Bell and Pollock at 303-795-5900 or visit online at championsofthepeople.com. Today's legal question is brought to you by Bell and Pollock.
You're injured by a hit-and-run driver, so what do? Always call the police. Use your phone camera to document the scene and report this to your own insurance company right away. At Bell and Pollock, we educate and advocate. We wrote a book called Cowards of the Street, Hit and Run. Get it free on our website, championsofthepeople.com.
If you've been injured in a car crash, call Bell and Pollock at 303-795-5900 or visit online at championsofthepeople.com. Today's legal question is brought to you by Bell and Pollock.
You're injured by a hit-and-run driver, so what do? Always call the police. Use your phone camera to document the scene and report this to your own insurance company right away. At Bell and Pollock, we educate and advocate. We wrote a book called Cowards of the Street, Hit and Run. Get it free on our website, championsofthepeople.com.
If you've been injured in a car crash, call Bell and Pollock at 303-795-5900 or visit online at championsofthepeople.com. Today's legal question is brought to you by Bell and Pollock.
You're injured by a hit-and-run driver, so what do? Always call the police. Use your phone camera to document the scene and report this to your own insurance company right away. At Bell and Pollock, we educate and advocate. We wrote a book called Cowards of the Street, Hit and Run. Get it free on our website, championsofthepeople.com.
If you've been injured in a car crash, call Bell and Pollock at 303-795-5900 or visit online at championsofthepeople.com. Today's legal question is brought to you by Bell and Pollock.
You're injured by a hit-and-run driver, so what do? Always call the police. Use your phone camera to document the scene and report this to your own insurance company right away. At Bell and Pollock, we educate and advocate. We wrote a book called Cowards of the Street, Hit and Run. Get it free on our website, championsofthepeople.com.
If you've been injured in a car crash, call Bell and Pollock at 303-795-5900 or visit online at championsofthepeople.com. Today's legal question is brought to you by Bell and Pollock.
You're injured by a hit-and-run driver, so what do? Always call the police. Use your phone camera to document the scene and report this to your own insurance company right away. At Bell and Pollock, we educate and advocate. We wrote a book called Cowards of the Street, Hit and Run. Get it free on our website, championsofthepeople.com.
If you've been injured in a car crash, call Bell and Pollock at 303-795-5900 or visit online at championsofthepeople.com. Today's legal question is brought to you by Bell and Pollock.
You're injured by a hit-and-run driver, so what do? Always call the police. Use your phone camera to document the scene and report this to your own insurance company right away. At Bell and Pollock, we educate and advocate. We wrote a book called Cowards of the Street, Hit and Run. Get it free on our website, championsofthepeople.com.
If you've been injured in a car crash, call Bell and Pollock at 303-795-5900 or visit online at championsofthepeople.com. Today's legal question is brought to you by Bell and Pollock.
You're injured by a hit-and-run driver, so what do? Always call the police. Use your phone camera to document the scene. And report this to your own insurance company right away. At Bell & Pollock, we educate and advocate. We wrote a book called Cowards of the Street, Hit and Run. Get it free on our website, championsofthepeople.com.
If you've been injured in a car crash, call Bell and Pollock at 303-795-5900 or visit online at championsofthepeople.com. Today's legal question is brought to you by Bell and Pollock.
You're injured by a hit-and-run driver, so what do? Always call the police. Use your phone camera to document the scene. And report this to your own insurance company right away. At Bell & Pollock, we educate and advocate. We wrote a book called Cowards of the Street, Hit and Run. Get it free on our website, championsofthepeople.com.
If you've been injured in a car crash, call Bell and Pollock at 303-795-5900 or visit online at championsofthepeople.com.
We're here with Gary and Brad from Bell and Pollock. By the way, you can also hear them every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. You guys are my companions as I do my Saturday morning errands. And I tell people all the time, and I mean it, I learn something new every single week. I have some follow-up questions from our icy sidewalk via the text line, if we can do those real quick, and then we'll get back to calls. Mandy, ask them if home insurance covers that dog bite. If it happens on a trail or away from your property, if you have a big liability policy, would that cover something that happened off your property with your dog?
So probably the answer is probably, and we've done it before, yes. And so homeowners need to get the best coverage you can. But since it's strict liability for the medical bills, as we said, it's going to pay. There's somebody's going to pay. It might as well be the insurance company.
All right. I have multiple follow-ups about the icy driveway. One of them is, I live on 2 acres in Parker, and my driveway is really long. I shovel the walkway from the driveway to my house about 15 feet. However, I rarely shovel the driveway. Do I have liability?
Okay, Brad?
I'm going to, in something like that, the idea is if you have a common house in a common neighborhood where people are going to be going up and down, and you're going to have deliveries into your driveway, or you're going to have people that might be using your driveway. If you're talking about where you're living, the most I would worry about there is shoveling a path that somebody can walk up your driveway in a safe and reasonable manner without falling or slipping on ice or snow. Not shoveling the entire driveway.
So they could just take that path from their front door and just zip it out?
They can, but my answer goes, that's a private driveway, but is it used for public, like the public sidewalk? So, for example, one we used earlier, Mandy, was if you got deliveries, and you might have deliveries, and you know deliveries are going to come there, then you got a duty and responsibility. Okay, but if nobody's ever going to use your driveway,
unsolicited, they come up the driveway.
It's your own private property.
Okay.
Probably no requirement whatsoever.
But if you order from Amazon, shovel aside a path for the
Amazon driver will thank you. All right, let's go to Jeff. Jeff, his mom was involved in a car accident. Jeff, you're on with Gary and Brad from Bell and Pollock.
Hi. My question is dealing with the insurance companies and the actual police report that happened for this accident. My mother T-boned a fella who was in a truck trying to back a trailer across a country road. Couldn't see any lights or anything. And the other person got cited for improperly backing a trailer or something like that. However, when we went to get satisfaction from the insurance companies, they both said, oh, yeah, your mom's at fault here, too. And we're like, well, send this thing up to subrogation. Let's get a third party to rule on this. And they both came back and said, yeah, even though the other guy was cited, your mom's still at fault. And that's just not making much sense to me. When the other guy was cited and, my mom sustained some pretty serious head injuries because her airbags didn't deploy. And I'm just kind of wondering, what can we do here with this kind of a situation?
Okay, a couple of questions, and I'll jump all over it for you. When did this happen?
All right. Back in October. Last October 2nd of last year.
We're losing the war against time, okay? And we'll be glad to talk to you. We'll be glad to meet with you. There's no charge, anything. Here's the deal.
Sure.
This is what lawyers, they never tell you on TV or otherwise, but this is what lawyers call a fact-driven machine, a fact-driven circumstances. So what does that mean? Mm-hmm. That means what are the actual facts? because the insurance company's going to say they use these fancy words, comparative negligence, meaning your mother was at fault.
Right.
We're not going to pay. We're not going to pay. No, but what are the facts? And sometimes you have to get, if there's injuries involved, you have to get engineers to back up the facts. You have to get engineers to accident reconstruct the accident, but there's other ways to do it as well. And so what does the intersection look like? What does this backing up a trailer? You can't back up a trailer. So what are the facts? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
The actual facts have to be investigated. And I'm not just talking about a casual, cup of coffee conversation. I'm talking about in detail. Brad, your take.
Well, the guy was backing a trailer up across a public road that ends in a crash. Stop it.
Yes.
Just tell the insurance company we don't want to hear it. They need to pay. That's my attitude.
Okay.
Now, maybe they've got something. Your mom was speeding, or she should have seen it, or whatever. That's where you need to have an advocate for you that says that you're not going to buy that. Of course, the insurance company is going to say they don't want to pay.
Of course,
they never want to pay any money. That's just the way insurance companies work. So,
but I'm going to tell you what we tell our listeners a lot. Okay, and our Saturday morning show at 7:00 on KHOA and otherwise. Sometimes you don't need a lawyer, and they're kind of surprised we say that. But in this case, you need a lawyer. Period.
Okay.
Period.
Jeff, give him a call tomorrow at the office.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. I want to get in one more before we have to take a break here in about 2.5 minutes. Andrea, you're on with Gary and Brad.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. My son took a trip down to Cancun, Mexico in December of 23, and I talked to a couple people about it. They told me it wasn't worth pursuing, but I thought I'd just call. He was visibly ill on the flight, and after the flight, I know it's because a woman took his phone from him while I was talking to him and said he had thrown up a couple times. He had passed out about twice before he actually got out of the terminal. He had no recollection of being sick or what had happened. And the reason I know that the flight attendant knew he was sick is the next day when he was leaving with my husband, the flight attendant ran up to him and said, "Are you okay? You were really bad yesterday." And so I'm just wondering, are they supposed to get medical attention for somebody who's visibly ill on the aircraft during flight when they arrive?
They sure should be doing something. It's crucial to inform the flight attendants or make sure they know, and they can provide some assistance based on the symptoms. So,
can I speak as a former flight attendant on this one?
Let's go.
Let me just say this, and I'm not trying to disparage your son, but a flight out of Cancun, a young man vomiting on that flight is not unusual because there was probably a lot of alcohol consumed. I don't know what your son, but that is not an uncommon situation. Similarly, out of Las Vegas. If we had medical attention for every person who threw up flying out of Las Vegas on a 6 a.m. flight, it would be nonstop ambulances wherever they landed.
And that's where they have to assess the symptoms and decide
Right.
whether or not they think those are something out of the ordinary or if it's something they see every day based on what's going on, who the person is, and what's been happening.
Right.
And make it.
Can I speak to that? He has a VP shunt in his head. And I am sure that it was a malfunction because it was an early morning flight to Philly and then from Philly to Cancun.
Right.
This kid does not drink when he's traveling. So he was just arriving there to meet some friends.
Oh, he was arriving in Cancun. I apologize.
He was arriving, and he tells me he has zero memory of getting on the flight in Philadelphia and zero recollection of actually nothing in between getting off the flight and talking to me in the hospital in Cancun. And the flight attendant recognized him the next day in the terminal when he was with his father, who flew down that night at midnight to bring him home, and said, "Man, are you okay? You were really bad." And so why didn't they? I was on the phone with the people at the Cancun airport. I said, "My son is in there somewhere. He needs attention. Please find him." And nobody could find him. He had managed to get himself in a taxi, has no memory of any of this. So when your shunt malfunctions, are you guys familiar with VP shunt in the brain?
Yeah.
And when the pressure goes up, you can get very sick really quickly, have no memory, be very nauseous, throw up, and you can even pass out. And these are all things that happened to him in the terminal. And, yeah, the flight attendant recognizing him, is just wondering if I have any recourse with the airline, because he was sick on the aircraft.
Can we get the answer? I have to let you go only because I have to take a break. We'll get the answer on the other side. All right, we will be right back.
It's been 100 years.
Hear this. Don't talk to insurance company until you speak with us. Bell and Pollock is very experienced and will advocate on your behalf and set up your case for success. You need to contact Bell and Pollock now. Our expert personal injury attorneys will fight to get you the highest compensation possible for your injuries. Put our experience to work for you. Visit championsofthepeople.com or call 303-795-5900. Been in a car accident? You need to hear this. Don't talk to insurance company until you speak with us. Bell and Pollock is very experienced and will advocate on your behalf and set up your case for success. You need to contact Bell and Pollock now. Our expert personal injury attorneys will fight to get you the highest compensation possible for your injuries. Put our experience to work for you. Visit championsofthepeople.com or call 303-795-5900. Been in a car accident? You need to hear this. Don't talk to insurance company until you speak with us. Bell and Pollock is very experienced and will advocate on your behalf and set up your case for success. You need to contact Bell and Pollock now. Our expert personal injury attorneys will fight to get you the highest compensation possible for your injuries. Put our experience to work for you. Visit championsofthepeople.com or call 303-795-5900. Been in a car accident? You need to hear this. Don't talk to insurance company until you speak with us. Bell and Pollock is very experienced and will advocate on your behalf and set up your case for success. You need to contact Bell and Pollock now. Our expert personal injury attorneys will fight to get you the highest compensation possible for your injuries. Put our experience to work for you. Visit championsofthepeople.com or call 303-795-5900. Been in a car accident? You need to hear this. Don't talk to insurance company until you speak with us. Bell and Pollock is very experienced and will advocate on your behalf and set up your case for success. You need to contact Bell and Pollock now. Our expert personal injury attorneys will fight to get you the highest compensation possible for your injuries. Put our experience to work for you. Visit championsofthepeople.com or call 303-795-5900. Been in a car accident? You need to hear this. Don't talk to insurance company until you speak with us. Bell and Pollock is very experienced and will advocate on your behalf and set up your case for success. You need to contact Bell and Pollock now. Our expert personal injury attorneys will fight to get you the highest compensation possible for your injuries. Put our experience to work for you. Visit championsofthepeople.com or call 303-795-5900. Been in a car accident? You need to hear this. Don't talk to insurance company until you speak with us. Bell and Pollock is very experienced and will advocate on your behalf and set up your case for success. You need to contact Bell and Pollock now. Our expert personal injury attorneys will fight to get you the highest compensation possible for your injuries. Put our experience to work for you. Visit championsofthepeople.com or call 303-795-5900. Been in a car accident? You need to hear this. Don't talk to insurance company until you speak with us. Bell and Pollock is very experienced and will advocate on your behalf and set up your case for success. You need to contact Bell and Pollock now. Our expert personal injury attorneys will fight to get you the highest compensation possible for your injuries. Put our experience to work for you. Visit championsofthepeople.com or call 303-795-5900. Been in a car accident? You need to hear this. Don't talk to insurance company until you speak with us. Bell and Pollock is very experienced and will advocate on your behalf and set up your case for success. You need to contact Bell and Pollock now. Our expert personal injury attorneys will fight to get you the highest compensation possible for your injuries. Put our experience to work for you. Visit championsofthepeople.com or call 303-795-5900. Been in a car accident? You need to hear this. Don't talk to insurance company until you speak with us. Bell and Pollock is very experienced and will advocate on your behalf and set up your case for success. You need to contact Bell and Pollock now. Our expert personal injury attorneys will fight to get you the highest compensation possible for your injuries. Put our experience to work for you. Visit championsofthepeople.com or call 303-795-5900. Been in a car accident? You need to hear this. Don't talk to an insurance company until you speak with us. Bell & Pollock is very experienced and will advocate on your behalf and set up your case for success. You need to contact Bell & Pollock now. Our expert personal injury attorneys will fight to get you the highest compensation possible for your injuries. Put our experience to work for you. Visit championsofthepeople.com or call 303-795-5900. Been in a car accident? You need to hear this. Don't talk to an insurance company until you speak with us. Bell & Pollock is very experienced and will advocate on your behalf and set up your case for success. You need to contact Bell & Pollock now. Our expert personal injury attorneys will fight to get you the highest compensation possible for your injuries. Put our experience to work for you. Visit championsofthepeople.com or call 303-795-5900. Been in a car accident? You need to hear this. Don't talk to an insurance company until you speak with us. Bell & Pollock is very experienced and will advocate on your behalf and set up your case for success. You need to contact Bell & Pollock now. Our expert personal injury attorneys will fight to get you the highest compensation possible.
We are here with Gary Bell and Brad Pollock talking about Ask the Lawyer. And Brad, what's your short answer for our prior caller who was looking for maybe some recourse from an airline because she felt like the flight attendants were not responsive enough to her son who was ill?
Sure.
The first steps I take is I would go get in touch with the doctor who put the shunt in or was managing the shunt and sit down with the doctor, talk about what happened to the son, talk about the symptoms the son had, talk about what might be his problem, and see if the doctor believes that this is the result of something that the airlines did wrong or that the flight attendant did wrong. It doesn't sound like the flight attendant did anything wrong. So the question is, was the cabin properly pressurized? Sounds like it was. Doesn't sound like there's a lot of complaint there. But the first step is going to the medical professional and finding out whether or not the symptoms that her son had are something that can come from being on that flight.
Well, the other thing I say is, everybody should have personal responsibility. And in this situation, the young man should have personal responsibility. If he or the mother knows about a condition that reacts to pressure, reacts to flying, then they should disclose that or not fly. That's not necessarily automatically the airline's flight fault, and I don't really see it. Look, airlines fly people from point A to point B. They're not emergency rooms. They're not hospitals. And God bless the flight attendants. They do a great job. They got emergency kits on board, and they do the best they can, but they're not emergency rooms. So if the patient knows they have a condition, it should be disclosed. And I have seen people that are dying of cancer say, I'm not going to tell anybody. I got to get on this. I got to go from back home to Cleveland or to New York. So I'm not going to tell anybody. Well, that's not the airline's fault. The other thing I would tell the mom is you talk to the doctor about the word causation. And what does that mean in legal mumbo jumbo? It means, did what the airline do or not do, or what happened on the flight, did it cause anything that wasn't going to happen anyway? Did it cause something different? And remember, they almost have no duty in this situation. That being said, I know flight attendants that are very professional. They tell the pilots. Sometimes pilots radio ahead, right? They get instructions. They do the best they can. They're not doctors, and I just don't see it. But I wouldn't stop looking for lawyers, ma'am.
All right, we are going to talk to Tom. This is probably our last one. We only have a few minutes left. Tom, quickly, you're on with Bell and Pollock. What happened?
Sure can. Gentlemen, on January 21st, I was picking up a passenger at the Hyatt on 14th Place in Denver. Gentleman happens to be using a wheelchair. When I picked him up, I helped him get into the back seat, and I was putting his wheelchair in the back of my hatch. When doing so, his wheelchair kind of slid out and nailed me hard in the thumb. I had not yet on the app started the fare itself, but I was in the process of picking up the gentleman. He was assigned to me. I was able to get him to his destination, and complete the fare that way. I did give Uber, their response team, a call, letting them know I was injured in the process of transporting the customer. I did speak to Progressive, who happened to be their accident insurer, and at that time also my personal auto insurer. And on both sides, they told me that neither the insurance from the Uber side was going to cover going to the doctor. I wound up going to UC Urgent Care and wound up getting a bill for $325. On my own, at that time when I had Progressive, I did have the Uber rideshare amendum, the rider on there in case if something was to happen.
So real quick, because we're out of time, Tom, I'm just going to ask, who does he go after here, guys? Which insurance company?
Okay, so you make the claim. I don't think they're going to cover it, to be honest with you, unless you prove there was some defect in the wheelchair. If it's a normal operating wheelchair, I don't think they're going to cover it. They have to look for somebody's negligence or breach of a duty, and if the guy that owns the wheelchair doesn't have a defective wheelchair, I don't think they're going to cover it.
You need to call me. We can talk about a claim. Uber quite often in these instances will send it to mandatory arbitration and give you a chance at proving your case in arbitration. It's longer than what we have a chance to talk to you today about, but call the office, talk to me, and we'll see what we can do to get you set up to get access to making a claim.
All right, guys. Tom, I hope that helps. I have 500 more questions on the text line. I have 3 people hanging online right now. All of these things, this is the kind of stuff you talk about on both shows. When is your show on KHL? What time is that?
It's 7 o'clock every Saturday morning, 1 hour.
7 o'clock, 1 hour. You could do a half hour here on KOA at 10 o'clock.
1 hour on KOA.
1 hour on, I'm sorry, I don't know why I said half an hour.
No
as I said, this is my driving around doing errands. You guys keep me company on Saturday morning. You can also call if you have an issue and you just want to know. This is what they do in their office too, right? I mean, you can call, you talk to someone, you have these same kind of conversations and find out if you actually need an attorney.
Exactly.
So that's what they do all day, every day. 303-795-5900. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Mandy, thanks a lot. We really appreciate it. Rock and roll.
We'll be back right after this.
Colorado's
Today's legal
Morning
question
News.
is